Paddles on paddles on paddles on paddles. 6-0 just released a new paddle called the Ruby, which I will be covering a bit in this video, but that is not the main purpose of this video. We're going to go over and compare the 6-0 lineup so you can decide which of these paddles might be right for you if you are looking to purchase one for yourself. Codes and links are down in the description below if you want to help support the channel. I'm first going to be explaining the naming scheme a bit, then go into how I would rank them in terms of performance. Stick around to the end to see which one I prefer out of the lineup. 6-0 has 4 paddles right now that come in some differing variations. We got the Black Diamond, the Double Black Diamond, the Sapphire, and the Ruby. Aside from the Sapphire, all these paddles come in a hybrid shape that is 16.3 inches in length and 7.7 inches in width at its widest point. This shape is not fully elongated, which I typically categorize at a 16.5 inch length or greater, nor is it standard, which for me means it's less than 16 inches in length. The hybrid shape strikes the best balance of reach, speed, and maneuverability. I'm also a fan of the gemstone naming convention that 6-0 uses. It just kind of makes things easier to know when they come out with a new paddle or a variation of a similar paddle. Let's go over the Black Diamond first. I initially reviewed the Black Diamond a while ago and I would categorize it as their power paddle. From what I understand, it uses some fiberglass in its composite to give it that extra pop and power. I have noticed though that the more recent Black Diamond batches I've played with are still plenty powerful, but don't have the same pop as the ones that I've played with when they first released. The Black Diamond only comes in a 16mm thickness, but does have one more variation, which is the Amethyst Purple Pro Edition that is sported by pro player Jaume Martinez-Vic. The only difference in this version is that it has a purple edge guard and comes in at an average static weight of 8.4 ounces with a plus or minus 0.2 variance, while the original comes in at an average static weight of 8.2 with the same 0.2 variance. The Pro Edition also comes in at $20 more at the time of recording this video. So if you guys out there really want that purple edge guard with just a tad bit more weight, you will have to go with the Pro option. One last thing I want to mention is that the peel ply and grit on the current Black Diamonds are a little different than that of the Double Black Diamond series. The Black Diamond models use a far more rough texture, and I think it's a better performer overall when compared to the Double Black Diamond, which still uses the super fine peel ply texture. The fine texture gets better spin when you are allowed to, fully swing at the ball from the baseline, because I believe since the ball compresses more on compact due to the speed of the swing, the finer texture provides more surface area to be able to grab onto the ball and help generate more spin. However, when you are at the kitchen line and you are trying to flick and roll the ball over without the luxury of speed from a full ground stroke, I think the rougher texture gives you that extra bite you need on the ball to generate some of that spin. That's just my theory and personal observation from playing with hundreds of paddles though. With that being said, I'm sure there is an optimal amount of roughness on these paddle faces that gives you the best performance from the back of the court to the no volley zone. I was also told by the team at 6-0 that they will be moving all their paddles to the rougher texture in the future. If you are worried, it's honestly not that big of a difference. All these paddles get phenomenal spin. Next up, we got the Double Black Diamond, which is 6-0's most popular offering, and for good reason. It is probably their best all-court performer. Fast, stable, controllable, with adequate pop and power. If you are looking at 6-0 paddles and are unsure which one to get, this is a good place to start. It's a paddle that can cater to the needs of many different players and play styles. The Double Black Diamond comes in a few different flavors, a thinner 14mm version and an edgeless 16mm version called the Double Black Diamond Infinity. With the original 16mm and 14mm versions, you can get them in all black or some blossom pink variations in the edge guard or paddle face, which looks sweet, by the way. The double black diamond 14mm is a more poppy and powerful version and is my personal preference when comparing all the double black diamonds together. The ball just comes off the paddle face very quickly. It's very maneuverable and fast for hand battles, but lacks some of the stability you find in the 16mm version. I would personally add a bit of weight, maybe 0.2 to 0.25 ounces at the 4 and 8 o'clock positions to gain back some of that stability without making the paddle feel too head heavy. Now, you might be wondering how the double black diamond 14 compares to the black diamond, and I would say the power levels are similar. With that setup, the DBD 14 probably becomes just as powerful as the black diamond in my opinion, but the 14mm DBD just has a more crisp feedback and the ball comes off the paddle face just a bit faster, whereas the black diamond feels just slightly more plush and a bit more versatile if you tend to like to reset and do drop volleys a little bit more. Last but not least, in the double black diamond family, we have the Infinity. It's essentially the double black diamond 16mm that is edgeless. It is a clean and very good looking paddle. However, the edge may not look as clean if you ever drop or scrape your paddle on the ground. Definitely recommend you get some protective tape on this paddle to keep from chips and scratches. I have some links down in the description below for some of the tape that I use from Pickleball Effect and some of the colored Gaffers tape that aren't as protective but gets you some more of those fun colors. I would say that the Infinity plays rather soft and feels even more plush than the original double black diamond 16mm. It's quite stable. It's quite stable for an edgeless paddle since most edgeless paddles have poor stability and tend to twist in the hand. The way I would describe the Infinity is that it is a more control-centric version of the DBD 16mm with less power but maneuvers fast in the hand like a 14mm paddle. So if you like to drop, reset, and value the touch game but still want to be able to keep up with the fast hand battles, this might be the best option of the three. To recap that, the DBD 14 is fast and powerful, ideal for the more aggressive player who likes to attack and speed up. The Infinity is just as fast, might even be a little faster, but softer and more plush. The DBD 16mm is a bit slower to maneuver and sort of right in the middle for more of an all-court kind of style that is a good option for just about anyone. Speaking of anyone, next up is the Sapphire paddle, which is 6-0's entry-level paddle coming in at about $100 USD. Don't let the price and entry-level label fool you though. The Sapphire was built with high-end materials and still uses a hot mold thermoform process found in many other high-end paddles, including the black diamond and double black diamond. At the time of recording this video, this is 6-0's only fully elongated offering, which should be changing soon as I know they are working on a new shape.
Something that might also be of interest to a few of you is we are working on a new shape. Yes. So this is actually,
we're not calling it the Willinator.
this is the Willinator.
Well, it's for discussion.
You can also use it as a garden spade.
Yes.
But yeah, it's 16.8 inches long and it's got a 6-inch handle. So for those who kept complaining that they needed an elongated paddle.
Sorry, but also you're welcome.
This actually plays really well.
The Sapphire also utilizes a 13mm core, which is the thinnest core out of the entire 6-0 lineup. It's fairly fast in the hand because of that thin core, but it also gives very strong feedback when striking the ball. It plays even more crisp than the DBD 14mm, but a little less powerful and a little less stable in my opinion. The balls coming off the face are pretty poppy and quick, but because the Sapphire is lighter on average when compared to the DBD, it doesn't have quite the plow through and the power of the double black diamond 16mm. The Sapphire comes in two options, one with a more traditional raw carbon fiber face surface, and the other is a more fun and colorful edition that has a spray-on grit coating. I would probably opt for the raw carbon fiber face texture just because spray-on grit just usually doesn't last nearly as long as the raw carbon textured surface. However, the party color, as it is named, looks really fun and would definitely stand out on court or in a paddle stack with a bunch of other paddles when you're playing at your local court. Finally, we have the new Ruby, a full Kevlar face that 6-0 has been developing for the past several months and is sourced from DuPont. It's very similar in looks to the face found on the Pickleball Apes Energy paddles, but the Apes paddles utilizes a Kevlar and carbon fiber hybrid face, while the Ruby utilizes only Kevlar. The Ruby is a first of its kind, and I for one think that the Ruby looks fantastic with this all maroon red paddle face. The combination of the red weave pattern and white edge guard and handle looks just so clean. You'll also be happy to know that it plays as good as it looks. The Kevlar material found in the face is very strong and impact resistant, which gives the Ruby a very plush and soft feel. This helps the Ruby grab onto the ball and shape the ball better, giving you access to more spin. It's definitely the most spin friendly in the 6-0 lineup, as well as the most control oriented. Don't let that fool you though, because this paddle still packs a punch when needed. The pop is a bit less than the DBD 16mm in my opinion, but you don't feel like you are lacking power. It honestly performs very similar to the DBD 16mm with just a tad less pop, similar power, more spin though, and the feedback touch you get when striking the ball with the Ruby is superior to the rest of the lineup. I just feel really connected with the ball and my shots do what I want them to do. The exceptional feel, stability, and spin makes the Ruby a strong contender for one of the best control and even like all court paddles out right now. The Ruby is definitely a dope paddle in pretty much all categories. 6-0 really knocked it out of the park with this one in terms of performance and looks. Okay, so to wrap it up, here is how I would kind of rank all of the 6-0 paddles in the following categories. For control, at number 1, we have the Ruby, and then number 2, the DBD Infinity, the double black diamond 16mm at number 3, and then the Sapphire at number 4. Then you have the double black diamond 14mm, and then you have the black diamond coming in last in the control category. Now in the power category, at number 1, I have the black diamond, followed very closely by the double black diamond 14mm. And at number 3, I have the Ruby and double black diamond 16mm tied. And then coming in at number 4, we have the Sapphire. Finishing in last place in the power category, I have the double black diamond Infinity. All right, in the next category, we have pop, and in the pop category at number 1, tied for first place, I have the double black diamond 14mm and the black diamond. If I had to choose between the two, I think the double black diamond 14mm takes a slight edge, but they're honestly both very close. Coming in at number 2, I have the Sapphire, and then following up at number 3, I have the double black diamond 16mm. Finishing off the rest of the list, I have the Ruby at number 4, and then the double black diamond Infinity at number 5. Okay, in the next category, we got spin, and tied for number 1, I have the Ruby along with the black diamond. Coming in at number 2 for spin, I have the double black diamond 14mm, followed very closely by the double black diamond 16mm and the double black diamond Infinity at number 3. Finishing off that list at number 4, we have the Sapphire at last place. Now, when it comes to my personal preferences among the 6-0 lineup, it's currently a toss-up between the Ruby and the Black Diamond or Black Diamond Pro. I tend to gravitate more towards power paddles, but the looks on the Ruby I think take the cake for me, and I would probably choose the Ruby over the Black Diamond, and then followed very closely by the double Black Diamond 14mm. All right, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you found it useful, a like and a sub would be great. Till next time, play better. Peace.